Malfurion versus Gul'dan.
So in this game I'm playing a Warlock. So I'm pretty afraid of an aggressive Zoo start. That might be trouble for this deck, because sometimes the Token Druid has trouble with very fast decks. But my statistics are actually really good against Zoo. So I don't think that Zoo is a very powerful deck against Token Druid. Because usually Zoo is a tiny bit too slow. And Zoo has no way to deal with all your tokens. Like if you have a full board from the Violet Teacher or you played your Onyxia, there's nothing Zoo can do about that.
My greetings.
Zoo already sometimes has trouble dealing with the living roots. The only counter is the White Walker. Turns out though that I'm playing a Rhinolock. Against Rhinolock, it's debatable to play Raven Idol here or not, because you're usually looking for high value cards and card draw to keep up with his card draw. But I decide my hand is so awkward because I have my 2 late game cards and nothing else. That's why I'm looking for extra mana here. I was basically hoping to pick up Innovate or Wild Growth, which didn't really happen though. And from these cards I'm choosing the Force of Nature, mainly because there's not much to swipe in the Reno deck.
For the wild.
So he plays Ooze, I kill the Ooze,
Can't do
and refill the board with more living roots. It's basically important in the control versus control matchup to always keep some minions on the board to have some kind of balance if you need some extra damage. Because if the other control deck gets too many minions on the board, you fall very far behind, and your only comeback mechanism then is Yogg. And it's way too far away to play Yogg here. He gets a Flame Imp, and my only play is Wrath and Hero Power. So I decide to draw a card here because I basically want more options for the future turns. And then I'm using my 1/1s again to clear his board. My next turn now is really debatable. I have 2 options with the Force of Nature and with the Nourish. With the Nourish I would definitely go for extra mana, that's for sure. But the Force of Nature also looks really interesting. You might bait out some AoE, which is very useful when you have Onyxia already. So, but he decides my play here, because obviously I'm not going to play Force of Nature into the Doomsayer. That means I'm going for the Nourish, and with this hand I'm definitely taking the mana because I want to play my late game cards.
for the wild.
So he bought a turn here with the Doomsayer, and now he has the initiative. But my mana is really crazy. And interestingly he's tapping, so he doesn't really have a good minion to go for with his initiative. And he's playing the MCT, which is quite good for me, because oftentimes you're a little bit vulnerable to MCT when you play like Onyxia or something. It's sometimes annoying when he gets the 8/8. And the Possessed Villager is really interesting here. I don't really know why he's coining that here. So I have several options here. Since his next turn is exactly 6 mana, it's a little bit awkward to play the 7/7, because it might just get killed by the heart removal. So I decide to play a bunch of 2/2s and to take out his 3/3 here. Again, you always want to clear as many minions as possible from the opponent's board. And I'm hoping here to bait some AoE with the 2/2s. Because obviously next turn it's 9 mana and I'm ready to play Onyxia. So he keeps on tapping. And there's the AoE. So my plan worked. And without hesitation I'm going for Nyx. He might have the second AoE. You cannot really play around that. But if he has the second AoE here, that means he has even more trouble dealing with your next board full of tokens. So there's the Siphon Soul. So it was kind of a good decision to not play the 5/10 on the previous turn. So obviously I'm playing now the 5/10 because his hard removal is gone. And yeah, I'm basically using my tokens with his Squire. So he's going to be rich here. Which is actually not a really powerful turn by him. Because he still doesn't really deal with my board. He's just afraid of Savage Raw, I guess. That's the interesting point about this deck. My version actually doesn't run Savage Raw, but everybody still has to play around the Savage Raw. So I decide to refill my hand here with Nourish. And I think I'm using a Wrath to deal with his Reno. You definitely want to remove his minion here because of Shadow Flame. Especially because it doesn't really matter if he's like low or super low. High or super high on health, sorry. And I decide that the hero power doesn't really do anything here. Doesn't matter if he's at 25 or 26, so I'm drawing. There's Scenarios, which is really good with this board, obviously. So he needs AoE right now. Especially because he already used the Hellfire. So if I would buff all my 1/1s here with Scenarios, the Demon Wrath, for instance, wouldn't really deal with it. He just has then the Twisted Nether.
By the power of Ragnaros, I have the power!
So he's going for Emperor Thorson. Really not that much else. And I think I go for Scenarios here just because it's so good to buff so many minions. No, but I'm still going for the Scenarios. Good play, Tony. Good play. Especially because I have 2 big minions and left over. Would actually maybe be better here to trade with the Ancient of War. Especially he might have spell damage and Demon Wrath, then the Ancient of War would also be dying. I think it's better to trade in 2 3/3s here.
I have no time for
games. He actually has the Sylvanas. So it was a good decision here to reduce the health of the taunt. And now he's at 12 HP and I'm like looking for ways to finish him. But I still don't have enough. So I decided to play Yogg here to deal with his board. The Sinister Strike is pretty nice actually here. Misdirection also pretty awesome. He has like a strong minion on the board. And burning cards. And Yogg is killing himself. So basically, the misdirection is pretty good here. I think for him it's correct to not attack this turn. Because Freezing Trap is kinda horrible. Explosive Trap is horrible. Bear Trap is pretty bad. So as far as I remember, he's debating the attack a little bit, but then decides to attack anyways. And that's obviously horrible for him.
My greetings.
So Yogg won me the game here, actually.
Funnel cakes! Get your funnel cakes here!
Shields
He's
up.
still trying to heal and taunt up, but... And I'm like, whoa, my second swipe got burned. No, I cannot kill him, but then I see that I have the Azure Drake and the spell power. And yeah. And still survived, so GG. Pretty good, Yogg.
Malfurion versus
So now I'm playing a Druid. So against Druid, I would try to mulligan for the mirror matchup,
Be preserved.
which basically means you just want to keep innovates and wild growth and that kind of stuff, and maybe a nourish or a Maya Keeper if you already have a wild growth.
My greetings.
Yeah, if you know exactly that it's Beast Druid, you could maybe keep a Wrath. So at this point I'm debating if I should coin the Wild Growth here, but I don't really have a play for 3 mana next turn, so that's why I decide to go for, I think, Wild Growth into coin Nourish. And here I learned that he's
Another
actually
night
Beast
on the
Druid,
prowl.
which is quite interesting. It was, I think, this was, I think, the day when the Menagerie Warden came out. So anyways, I go for the Wild Growth, and he actually, I think, has the Mark of Yashiraj, which is super powerful here, obviously. And I'm like, okay, shit, this is awesome. But he doesn't attack with a 5/4. I have no clue what he was thinking here. So I decide to stick with my plan and go for the coin Nourish. Kind of really keeps me in the game here that he didn't really want to deal 5 damage to my face on the last turn. I used the hero power to kill one of his 1/1s. I'm like, okay, he has probably the second Mark of Yashiraj and doesn't want the 5/4 to get swiped down. But here we learn that he was just playing around swipe, nothing more. So, and I think I decide to go for Fendril here. And to kill the 5/4. Basically, I need the extra health. And I want to deal with his beast. And now he has to find a way to deal with Fendril. Greetings to Wick here, who's chatting with me.
Time waits for no one.
At this point, the Maya Keeper is just used for getting more power on the board. I'm debating here if I should play that much and I play a second Maya Keeper. Because the numbers just were not good. And also kinda, I keep in mind here that I have Onyxia coming up, and obviously buffing all the whelps with Onyxia is pretty insane. So he goes for a swipe here, which doesn't really make me unhappy at all, because that means Onyxia is probably uncontested from a swipe. He's trading into my 2/1s, obviously. He has to do that. And he's not trading his beast away. Kind of logical decision. So I do the trade and play Onyxia.
Feel my wrath.
And now he kind of needs to have the second swipe. To stay in the game. But he just concedes.
I concede.
No swipe here. And I retrank to here. Pretty awesome.